Now I'm going on to talk to you about seasonal affective disorder. And this is a serious mood change when the seasons change. Okay. And the symptoms with seasonal affective disorder is that a person may sleep too much, have very little energy, and also feel depressed. Okay. Though the symptoms are severe, they do clear up. Now I'm going on to talk to you about bipolar disorder. You can see the two masks here. We've one very happy mask and one very sad mask. Bipolar disorder, you might otherwise know it as manic depression. 1 in 100 people are affected by manic depression, and it is characterized by a period of elevated mood and a period of depression. And the elevated mood is called mania, and the period of depression is called the depressed mood, the low mood. Okay. So during the mania or high mood, a person is abnormally happy, very energetic and irritable. Okay? They can make poorly thought out decisions with very little regard for the consequences, and the need for sleep can be very much reduced. Okay? And during the depressed part of this, a person can be very, very depressed and have intense despair and hopelessness. Okay? Now, manic depression or bipolar disorder can be a lifetime condition like heart disease or diabetes, and it has to be treated through the person's lifetime. Now, it is characterized by a serious mood change. Okay? Now, young teenagers and young adults, they experience mood changes. They're the normal part of life, okay? And they can easily be overcome by support with family and friends. But the mood change associated with bipolar disorder or manic depression is much more serious, and it can last for a longer period of time. Now here we're going to talk to you about anxiety. And this is my very good friend, Jim. And Jim, in 4 hours' time, is going to give a speech to 200 people. And Jim has just spoken with his partner who's heard his speech. And they've told him that it's a bit wooden, and he needs to add a bit of humour, but Jim is not very good with humour. And he was out with his friends the night before, and they said to him, it's better to speak off the cuff than use a prepared script. So this is the effect this has all had on Jim. The Jim is experiencing anxiety. And you can see here that choking feeling, the rapid heartbeat, the wobbly knees. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced those wobbly knees, and feeling faint, being shaky, and having that sense of dread. He just wants to run for the hills. But unfortunately, he's got 200 people he has to give a speech to. Anxiety. It is a common experience in men and women. For most of us, a passing emotion linked to a stressful event. I mean, think about June, the Leaving Cert and the Junior Cert exams. It can be a very anxious time for students and for parents. But for others, anxiety is much more than that, and it can have a damaging impact on a person's quality of life. And where it becomes excessive, it's called an anxiety disorder, and panic attacks are symptoms of anxiety. And they can be very distressing. So my friend Jim might be experiencing some social anxiety, we don't know. But we do know this is a little bit about social anxiety. And a person who experiences social anxiety, they want to avoid situations where they're the center of attention, okay? They have a huge worry about being embarrassed in front of peers, and a fear about how others might perceive them or see them, okay? And when in situations that cause anxiety, your mind can go blank. And when you're afraid of being anxious, that makes the anxiety even worse. Now, 13.7% of Irish adults experience social anxiety. Now, the next slide shows you some of the symptoms of anxiety, and these are very similar to the symptoms we saw with Jim. They are a racing heart, rapid breathing, the feeling of panic and sweating, excessive undue worry, disturbed sleep, tense muscle, morbid thoughts, and that fear of going mad. Because poor Jim thinks he might be actually going mad. The panic is so much. Now, on the next slide, I'm going to go on and talk to you about panic attacks. Okay? And here is the first 60 seconds of a panic attack. And sometimes people who experience panic attacks actually think they're having a heart attack. We know that nobody has died from a panic attack, but they are very, very serious. And you can see here, this is the first 60 seconds of a panic attack. And what's very important with a panic attack is to have our thinking and our breathing working together to help us. And you can see here, I can't breathe. I have to get out of here. I'm going to faint. So the person literally thinks they're going to faint. Okay? And this is where our breathing at times can come in to help us. Focus, breathe, deep breath, hold, exhale. But what happens in many times is that people actually panic and it can get worse. So now I'm going on to talk to you about suicide ideation. So suicide ideation involves an idea or thought about suicide. So this involves a thought or a preoccupation with suicide. It can vary from a fleeting thought to a detailed plan. When someone speaks about suicide ideation, it needs to be taken seriously and appropriate supports put into place. The HSC run a safe talk program. It lasts a half a morning and it's free of charge, and it gives people the skills how to talk to somebody who is suicidal, to ask those questions. They also run an assist training course. Again, it's over 2 days and it's free of charge. It's usually for people who are maybe working in the community or maybe managing staff. Okay, we've also got the Samaritans, and they're open 24 hours a day. You have the number there. Their telephone number is 116123. I have the website there. They are another organisation, and they're open 24 hours a day. And if you're concerned about somebody or you're concerned about yourself, it's a place where you can get advice. Now, in my research for this webcast, I came across this leaflet from the HSC, and it's called Concerned About Suicide. And it talks about the warning signs and risk factors, and this can be downloaded from their website. But there are some key facts I thought I might share them with you today. So there's just 6 key facts here, and all groups in Irish society experience loss through suicide. The suicide rate in Ireland is the same as the European average. More men than women die by suicide. For every 1 woman that dies by suicide, 4 men die by suicide. Okay. Suicide is the leading cause of death in our young people, and there is no one single cause for suicide, and any one of us could be potentially suicidal. So there are just some interesting facts that I got from this leaflet I thought I might share with you today. So the treatment, management of mental health problems. Well, imagine you have a cold or a flu all day, every day, with 5 or 6 symptoms for a period of 2 or 3 weeks. What are you going to do about it? Well, you probably will have to go to your GP or a medical professional. And why would you go and get treatment? Well, because you want to get better and to recover and to go back to normal life. But also, you want to get a diagnosis to see what's wrong. And that's why we go to our GP, to get professional help. If you're experiencing any one of those mental health problems I talked about, say you're struggling with anxiety or depression, well, educate yourself about your condition and also have a strong support system in place. Have one person at least, a trusted friend that you can talk to about your problems. Okay? Make good lifestyle choices. If you're on medication and you're drinking as well, the medication may not work properly. So you have to be very cautious and have a treatment plan, what works for you. Okay? And link in with your designated employee assistance officer if you feel the need to. Now we're going to move on to section 3, minding your mental health, the individual's responsibility. I might take a break for a minute and get some water.